In the early 1800s, walking into an operating theater was a gamble with your life. Surgeons were operating completely blind, guessing at the exact location of arteries and nerves with crude, unsterilized tools. The problem was the law. Across Britain and America, authorities strictly outlawed the dissection of human bodies for medical science. Looking inside the dead was a crime. Because they couldn't study actual human tissue, aspiring doctors tried to learn the complex geography of the human body by staring at drawings in centuries-old books. Medical progress hit a wall. Well-meaning doctors were forced into lethal ignorance, wrapped in a legal blindfold that made every incision a potentially fatal mistake. As medical school enrollment surged, universities needed a massive supply, over 500 bodies a year to train students properly. But the law only allowed dissecting executed murderers, so the legal supply was only 1 or 2 bodies annually. When you pit a desperate scientific necessity against a near-zero legal supply, the laws of economics take over. The conditions were perfect for a lucrative underground industry to step in and fill the gap. Enter the resurrection men. Medical schools started offering 8 to 10 pounds per body, a life-changing sum for a single night's work. They were highly specialized. Working under the cover of darkness, they would target the head of a fresh grave, using wooden spades to muffle the sound of shifting dirt. Once they reached the coffin, they would snap the lid, loop a rope around the corpse's neck, and pull it up. Then they meticulously replaced the soil and smoothed the grass, ensuring the grieving families suspected nothing. They didn't care about jewelry or pocket watches. These crews were precision extractors, hired to mine the exact raw materials required for scientific advancement. Eventually, the pristine graves began to sink. The public realized the cemeteries were empty, and the resulting panic triggered violent riots, with mobs attacking medical schools and doctors directly. Families desperate to protect their dead began deploying heavy physical defenses. They installed mort safes, thick iron cages anchored into the earth to block shovels. Entire communities pooled their money to hire armed guards, staffing fortified stone watchtowers inside the cemeteries to keep watch through the night. These civilian defenses worked. They successfully choked the graveyard supply chain. But by making the bodies harder to steal, they inadvertently pushed the cash bounty for fresh remains to dangerous new extremes. The black market had an obvious loophole. Anatomists paid top dollar for the freshest specimens, and digging them up had simply become too much work. In 1828 Edinburgh, William Burke and William Hare realized they didn't need to fight iron cages and armed guards. They could just manufacture their own supply. They lured vulnerable people into their boarding house and smothered them. The method, which eventually became known as burking, left no physical marks on the victims, keeping the bodies pristine and highly profitable. When these unnervingly fresh bodies arrived at the anatomy labs, prominent doctors, desperate for material, paid out the gold and asked no questions. Driven by strict economic forces, the esteemed medical establishment had quietly evolved into the primary financiers for a serial murder ring. Burke and Hare murdered 16 people before they were finally caught. The resulting scandal was so horrific that the British government could no longer ignore the systemic failure they had created. They passed the Anatomy Act of 1832, making it legal for medical schools to dissect the unclaimed bodies of those who died in hospitals and workhouses. A legitimate supply line was open. This line graph shows the immediate aftermath. The moment a legal, free supply of bodies met the university demand, the astronomical black market price plummeted to zero. The resurrection men vanished overnight. Yet their horrific labor left a permanent mark. The anatomical knowledge those men literally ripped from the ground mapped the human body, providing the exact foundation for all modern, life-saving surgery. It leaves us with an uncomfortable reality. Every successful operation today relies on knowledge purchased from grave robbers and murderers. The foundation of modern medicine is permanently tangled with the crimes that built it, leaving us to ask, was the cost of that progress worth it?